Welcome to the JS Self-Care Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, a weekly conversation about self-care, personal development, and all the small decisions we can make to become the best possible versions of ourselves. I am your host, Jenna. I am a social worker and a self-care life coach based out of New York. For more information, visit my website at jsselfcare.org. I want to welcome my new listeners, and I also want to welcome my returning listeners. If you can please share this episode, because there's someone in this world who needs to listen to this episode. I also want to personally thank you for making the JS Self-Care Mind, Body, and Soul podcast part of your weekly routine. I truly, truly appreciate you. Hello, everyone. I missed you and I miss podcasting. Before I begin, I want to be respectful and inform you this episode may be a trigger. Trigger warning. Today, I will be talking about the loss of my father. Today's topic is the effects of parental substance abuse on children. This episode is dedicated to any child who has lived with a parent or parents who have consumed alcohol or substances. As children, we look to our parents and caregivers for unconditional support from the time we are infants through adulthood. But some parents can't provide that support because they're dealing with a drug and alcohol addiction. It's absolutely no secret that addiction ruins lives and also takes lives. I am speaking from experiences. On May 11, 2021, my father died in my home of an overdose. Not only did my father die in my home, I actually was the person to find him lying in his bed. I administered CPR and I also administered Narcan to save my father. I did whatever it took to save him, but the reality was I found him too late. For those of you who don't know what Narcan is, it is a nasal spray. It is a prescription medicine used for the treatment of a known suspected opiate overdose. Narcan is used in the emergency with signs of breathing problems and severe sleepiness or not being able to respond. When in doubt, administer Narcan. I don't have the results of my father's autopsy, but I know it was an overdose because one, I know when my dad was under the influence of illegal drugs and he struggled with his addiction most of my life. With the passing of my father, I totally felt as if I was lost. I said to myself, I am the self-care queen. I asked myself, how can I help children whom have all once was in my shoes? So with self-care still being my baby and finding my purpose when my mother died, I have now found my purpose and a way to honor both my parents by becoming an advocate for the effects of parental substance abuse on children. I am here also to spread awareness as well. So if you know a child whom has gone through what I've gone through or is currently going through what I've gone through, please share this episode. I know the feeling oh so well. I am here to hold a safe space for anyone who needs to talk and who needs to just vent. Please contact me at jsselfcare.org. When parents become addicted to drugs and alcohol, it not only impacts their family, it also impacts their physical, emotional health, behaviors, and ability to effectively parent their children. 1 in 5 children in the U.S. live in a home with a parent who is addicted to drugs or alcohol. I believe this statistic. I'm not big on statistics, but I know the community I grew up in the South Bronx, at least one in all 5 of us in our crew, one of our parents were addicted to drugs. Parental substance abuse severely impacts a child's health and development. It establishes an unspoken understanding of the role substances play in being an adult. Children are programmed by their parents to follow suit, often at a young age. When I say follow suit, what I mean is the children or child, including me, had to follow suit. And it was somewhat normalized in my home. For instance, we were taught to hide our valuables if we wanted to keep them, and you didn't want them stolen and sold for drugs. We were told that your father doesn't have money to buy his drugs, so don't get on his nerves because he will lash out at you or your siblings. So when your father comes home, don't agitate him. I share this because there is a child required to follow suit, and I want them to know they are not alone. To add to that, I am what you call a daddy's girl, and I always was my father's protector. So as an adult, I continue with normalizing his behavior. Oh God, I miss him, but I know he is in a better place with the love of his life, my mother. There is a combination between childhood experiences and environment. A known fact is with childhood experiences, environment, and genetic factors can increase the child's likelihood of having an addiction at some point in their lives. The child who is raised in a home with parents who consume illegal drugs are also likely to start using drugs earlier in their lives and become addicted more quickly than their peers from homes without substance abuse. It's actually called being born with an addictive personality disorder. For example, a child who is born in a home where there is no substance abuse users and a child who is born in a home where there is substance abuse amongst the caregivers become friends. They then become teenagers, adults. They decide to indulge in illegal drugs. One friend will use and get over it, like we did that. And the other friend will use and go after that very first high, that feeling of euphoria. Guess what friend is strung out on drugs? That friend whom has the caregivers using drugs. This example doesn't always happen this way, but this example has a higher chance of happening the way I described it. Trust me, I know. I always tell my friends I must stay away from drugs because if I was to ever use them, I'm going to indulge. And the drugs won't be used for recreational purposes only with me because I will be that addict. So I stay away from any and every illegal drug known to mankind. Many alcohol and drug addicts don't realize that their actions affect more than themselves by choosing or by battling their demons that come with addiction. The addiction has them putting specifically their children on the back burner. I can honestly say that an addict is not in the right headspace to put their family first. I know this for a fact and through my life experiences. My father and many other parents made the choice to raise their children in a home where addiction was prevalent and even considered normal, quote unquote, can end up harming their children in an abundance of ways. In the United States, there is about 8.3 million children who live under the care of a parent who abused drugs and alcohol. I am one of those 8.3 children who live with a parent who struggled with substances abuse until the day my father closed his eyes on May 11, 2021. As a child or children, we look up to our parents for guidance in a multitude of ways. When our parents' judgments is affected by their substance abuse, they can not only cause mental, physical, and emotional trauma, but they can also severely alter and or hinder a child's development in all stages of development. The effects of parental substance abuse are twofold. Children are exposed to drugs The effects of parental substance abuse are twofold. Children are exposed to drugs and alcohol, and their parents are unequipped to provide the basic physical, psychological, and emotional care a child needs. Genetic and environmental reasons can make children who grow up in this kind of environment more likely to develop anxiety or depression in their adolescent years, use alcohol or drugs at an earlier age, become a part of the foster care system, get into trouble with the juvenile system as well. When I look at me and my siblings, I realize that each one of us were affected by our father's continued substance abuse in some form or fashion. One of us suffered with anxiety and depression. One of us used alcohol or substances. Glory to God, none of us were placed in foster care, but some of our family members were. I actually worked with children in the foster care system, so I was able to help children who come from substance abuse homes. A few of us got into trouble in the juvenile system. The effects of parental substance abuse is most definitely twofold. Parental substance abuse can lead to a lifelong problems with their child who doesn't receive the support they need early on. Once children reach adulthood, they are more likely to seek mental health treatment for anxiety or depression, struggle with parenting their own children, or have marital problems. Parental substance abuse has affected me and my siblings in our adulthood. One of my sisters became a parent at an early age. A few of my siblings are seeking mental health treatment for anxiety and or depression. I had marital problems, and I won't date a man who smokes cigarettes, because when I asked my father many years ago how he started using drugs, he once told me it all started from a cigarette. To this day, myself and my siblings are affected even as adults due to my father's substance abuse. Many people who abuse alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs often separate themselves from the harder drug users and think their addiction is not a problem or is not hurting their family. The truth is, it doesn't matter if a substance is legal or illegal. What matters is how the substance affects the person using or abusing it. Someone with a substance abuse problem may have trouble keeping a job. That's a good reason my father became a street pharmacist at a very young age. For those that don't know what a street pharmacist is, it's a drug dealer basically. He could not keep a job because his drug of choice made him want it more and more. Addicts may have trouble controlling their temper or their emotions. Did I not say this? The temper of an addict needing drugs can become scary. So other adults teach you not to agitate the user so you don't make them mad. This is so true because, as I stated, we were taught not to agitate our father growing up. Some users may be physically sick from their addiction. I remember helping my father when he would be sick. That help may have been giving him $10 to buy his heroin, or giving him a bucket so he can puke, and or even giving him chocolate to help deal with his aches and pains. The sickness gave him sweats and made him shiver at night. Some users may have legal issues such as drug charges or DUIs. I know my father was in and out of jail growing up. It doesn't really matter how often or how much someone uses alcohol or other drugs. What matters is how it affects them and the problems it creates. Boy, oh boy, it surely created a lot of problems in my home. Alcohol or drug addiction in the family is messy and hurts everyone. Often families don't want to admit it, that there is a problem. They may try to hide it or lie about it. Some adults who are addicted may look like they are doing okay. Others may not. Addicts that are visibly strung out on drugs, the ones that visibly didn't look okay, was the ones we as children called crackheads. We were disrespectful as kids. Every person and family is different. Alcohol and other drug addiction can cross generations, and this cycle can be hard to break. Talk to your family and let's end this generational curse for some of us. If you are a person who works with children whose parents may be addicted to drugs, please look out for these signs. Some children may not talk about what is happening in their family or in their home, but living with an adult who is abusing alcohol and or other drugs can affect a child's behavior. You might see the child be mean to others, that bullying behavior, be quiet or keep to themselves, act like a parent and try to take care of everyone. I used to act like a parent, and my little sister Joy actually calls me her second mom. Get into trouble at school or having failing grades. That was my little brother. May his soul rest in peace. Having nightmares, other sleeping problems, not being able to focus or finish tasks, miss many days of school or daycare. Believe the problem in the families are their fault. Worry about what will happen next. Afraid to speak because they don't want to be placed in foster care system. Or were told what goes on in this house stays in this house. We were told that, but we were also afraid to go in the foster care system. And sometimes when you're misplaced from a parent that's abusing drugs, the foster care system will pick you up and then place you in a home where you could get sexually abused. So sometimes that's really hard, and that's why I included this in this podcast. Hurt themselves or others when they're feeling suicidal or homicidal, feel helpless, feel scared, be sad, angry, or cry a lot, feel bad about themselves. Watch out for these signs. That's why it was very important that I also included this in this episode, because there are workers out there that need to look out for these signs, especially with children who live with a parent who is abusing substances or alcohol. If you are to see a child exhibiting these behaviors, talk to them and see why they behave the way they do, and try your best to speak in a non-judgmental way, because that child loves their parents very much, whether or not they are using drugs or not. Things that can potentially happen in a home of children who live in a home where a parent is using substances. Living in a situation, the child may see a lot of fighting in the home because the need for the drug, that domestic violence situation, get hurt by being hit, slapped, punched, kicked, or other things. That's where the child is agitating the addict who needs the drug. A child could be sexually abused, the parents allowing adults to sexually abuse their children for drugs. We saw that during the crack era. A parent would sell their child to buy drugs. Be hungry, dirty, left home alone, or not watched by an adult. When you notice the child is staying at home for many nights at a time and you don't see an adult, inquire. See or be a part of illegal things. The parent could be a part of a lot of illegal things, getting the child involved, like shoplifting. That was a big one many moons ago, which still occurs. Be confused about what they feel and how they act. Ask the child what they're feeling and find out what's going on at home, because that child has seen way more than a child's eyes should see. As I've stated, talk to the child and see what type of help they need. Most of us go into protect mode. I know sometimes I do, but when I'm dealing with children whom experience the same thing I experienced as a child, I talk to them in a way that I would have liked someone to speak to me. I know you love your parents and you want them to get better. The way we can help them is by getting them the help they need to fight this disease, aka this monkey on their back. That's how you talk to children. You tell them you want to help. That's why this was important to include this in this podcast for those that's in the helping field, or any innocent bystander seeing children go through this. Don't go at them in a judgmental way. They're already hurting. Recovery can be hard and in many ways will involve the entire family. It takes effort and causes changes in the whole family. Recovery from alcohol and other drug abuse is possible, most definitely is. The adult in recovery needs support from family, friends, and the community. Recovery can be a lifelong process, but there is hope for those in recovery. They can stay sober and enjoy a happy, healthy life. I know this is true because I've seen some of my family members use and recover. My father was just not one of them. As I stated earlier, the effects of parental drug addiction on children can be seen in their physical, mental, and emotional development. The following details the specific areas within these three crucial areas of development where children can be severely impacted. The physical effects on the child. For children of addicted parents, the physical effects often begin before the child is born. An obvious example is if the mother is using substances while pregnant. The effects of drug use during pregnancy are obvious, resulting in physical defects, stunt growth, the malformation of vital organs, mental attachment, and or attention disorders. If parents are unable to care for their children while under the influence, children can develop a variety of physical and mental illnesses. Children can also develop anxiety-based illnesses due to their parents' addictions, such as asthma. My little brother actually had asthma, or migraines. Additionally, parents can lose their sense of morality while under the influence of substances and can cause verbal, physical, or sexual abuse. Children of addicted parents can feel intense loneliness and isolation as a result of a parent or both parents focusing their energy on continuing their substance abuse use. As a result, children can develop deep depression, and it can lead to self-harming behaviors such as cutting and or suicide attempts. The mental health effects on children. Children that have parents who are addicted to drugs and alcohol have a home environment which is ruled by chaos and insecurity. That was my home. This is so true. It was pure chaos and insecurity in my home, especially when my mother wanted to leave my father. He told her he would kill us and her. That was a scary night. Maybe one day I'll share that story. In these situations, children tend to do poorly in school, and even if they do achieve academics and social success in a school setting, they can slip through the cracks due to the lack of encouragement and support from parents. Because addicted parents are absent from their children's lives in regards to discipline, children may believe that there is no reason to respect authority, and they act out and rebel in order to get any sort of attention. Unfortunately, children raised in an environment where parents are abusing substances are likely to develop their own addiction issues. And we do have addiction issues. I could see stuff and be like, no, I got to clean, or my sister's always cleaning. If they don't end up developing a substance abuse problem, they may date or marry someone who is addicted to drugs and alcohol. The emotional effects on children, much like the physical effects of addiction on children, the emotional effects of addiction can be felt by a child at birth. The bond between the parent and the child is absolutely crucial, so the children can feel deeply connected, centered, and loved. If addicted parents continue their pattern of detachment, their children eventually can develop deep trust issues and can become disconnected from the world around them. Children of addicted parents can also display limited ability to show remorse or empathy towards others. That's those kids who you be like, you don't even care, or do you even love me? And they can't tell you that they love you because they didn't get that love at home, because their parents were addicted to drugs, not because their parents didn't want to. The addiction overpowers parents. Become teenagers, they can feel great emotional conflict in regards to their parents' substance use. On one hand, they may feel they need to take care of their parents, and they also feel great guilt and shame because they feel they were the cause of their parents' substance abuse issues. These children we were not the cause of our parents' substance abuse. I was that child that felt the need to take care of my father. I remember when my mother would throw my father out because he's acting up now, and I would go and crack buildings to give my father food because I always knew my father wasn't eating. Assuming this role of taking care of your parents can be very stressful and can cause a lot of anxiety for a teenager who believes the world is on their shoulders. It's keeping the family running. I always knew to take care of my father. So if there's a child who's always protecting of the parent who's the addict, understand that they're still their parent and they love their parent. I love my daddy. Doing a research on children who have parents who are addicted to drugs, I came to ACEs, but I was like, that they don't help us. They're not coming from a place where we come from, our world. So COA and COSA is a concrete focus on the child who has a parent who abuses drugs. COA is COA is children of alcoholic parents. COSA is children of substance abuse parents. Children of alcoholics, known as COA, and children of substance abusers, also known as COSA, are a population without a clear definition. I agree. We are like the forgotten ones because the concept of COA and COSA is focused on the child rather than the parent. The definition of COA-COSA is any child whose parent or parental caregiver uses alcohol and other drugs in such a way that it causes problems in the child's life. The child may no longer be living with the substance abusing parents because of separation, divorce, abandonment, incarceration, or death. And the parent does not have to be still actively drinking or using for the child to continue to feel the impact of their parents' substance abuse. That is what I'm going through. I still feel the impact of my father's substance abuse. In families where alcohol or other drugs are being abused, behavior is frequently unpredictable and communication is unclear. Family life is characterized by chaos and unpredictability. Behavior can range from loving to withdrawn to crazy all in one day. So true. Structure and rules may be either non-existent or inconsistent. Children who may not understand that their parents' behavior and mood is determined by the amount of alcohol or other drugs in their bloodstream can feel confused and insecure because a child does not know. We don't know what the heck is going on most of the time. They love their parents and worry about them and yet feel angry and hurt that their parents do not love them enough to stop using drugs. Despite the suffering, these children, us, including me, endure many blame themselves for their parents' substance abuse. They believe it when their parents scream that they wouldn't drink so much or use other drugs if the children didn't fight or rooms were kept clean or grades were better. Some children try to control the drinking or drug use by getting all A's or keeping the house spick and span or getting along perfectly with their siblings. I know for me, I found my father's drugs and have thrown them down the toilet. It will make him angry, but I thought it will keep him from using drugs. Other children withdraw, hoping not to create any disturbance that might cause a parent to drink or use. Few realize that children cannot cause a parent to drink or use drugs, nor can they cure a parent's substance abuse. Many times, children of substance abuse are frightened. They may be the victim of physical violence or incest. They may also witness violence. Frequently, alcohol and other drug abuse goes hand in hand with domestic violence, and as a result, these youngsters may suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome with the same kind of sleep disturbances, flashbacks, anxiety, and depression that are associated with victims of war crimes. We suffer PTSD. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm telling you, we suffer from PTSD. Lord knows what other children's eyes seen, but I know what me and my siblings' eyes seen, and it was traumatic. These children are not only frightened for their own well-being, they also harbor the all too real concern that their parents may get sick or die as a result of the drinking or drug use. When fentanyl came out, I used to tell my father, "That's the drug that will kill you." And I was afraid he would overdose. And on May 11th, that's exactly what happened. My father did. He died of a drug overdose. Like I said earlier, I don't have the autopsy, but I know he was under the influence. I know what he looks like when he's not under the influence and when he is. He struggled all his life with the addiction. He is now at peace. I'm just trying to find peace because one minute I'm angry at him and one minute I'm like, I guess you're with mom and mommy is taking care of you up in the heavens. So that's my story. Despite the fact that friends can be a buffer for the problems at home, some children of alcoholics, children of substance abusers have a limited social life. They may avoid bringing home friends or going out in public with their friends. They may even shy away from making friends because they lack basic social skills or out of a profound fear that someone will find out the truth. The community I grew up in, we didn't really hide our parents because it was at least one parent in all of our homes who abused drugs. Children may also find it difficult to make friends because other parents have warned their children to stay away from these youngsters from troubled families. On the other hand, some young people use friends as buffers, relying on their leadership and skills to take on key positions in school or extracurricular activities. These young people are often among the most difficult to identify as children of alcohol abuse or children of parents who use substances because their achievements make them seem so well adjusted. Not every family is affected identically. Research has shown that families that maintain certain rituals, such as holiday traditions, that was us, Thanksgiving, or a Friday night pizza and movie, can help mediate the chaos of addiction. Sober parents who are able to provide stability, support, and nurturing also help minimize confusion and strengthen the children. How we were strengthened is through my mother's side of the family. There wasn't many of them that was abusing. Some were, but we still had that structure. Sometimes family life is less damaging because children rely on adaptive distancing, a technique in which the child separates from the centrifugal pull of family problems in order to maintain pursuits and seek fulfillment in life, school, and friendships. That was me. I went to college. I finished college. I started working with children who parents use, with the parents that use. I just worked myself and tried to fake it till I make it, basically. But what I realized is I'm suffering. I'm hurt. And some of my behaviors are because of my father's abuse. Consequence of parental substance abuse. Parental substance abuse interrupts a child's normal development, which places these youngsters at higher risk for emotional, physical, and mental health problems. Because parents who abuse alcohol or other drugs are more likely to be involved with domestic violence, divorce, unemployment, mental illness, and legal problems. Some of those were huge problems in my home. Their ability to parent effectively is severely compromised. There is a higher prevalence of depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and suicide attempts among children of alcoholics than among their peers. In addition, children of alcoholics are 3 to 4 times more likely than others to become addicted to alcohol or other drugs themselves. In homes where a parent is abusing substances, physical and sexual abuse of children is more likely. Sexual abuse is more frequent in chaotic and dysfunctional families where communication has broken down and roles have been blurred. Children who live in high conflict homes are more likely to have lower self-esteem and less internal locus of control. This puts children of alcoholics, children of substance abuse, at a higher risk for being re-victimized in the future. For instance, females, children of alcoholics, are more likely to be involved with men who abuse substances, which leaves them open to even more abuse. Even if the children themselves are not themselves victimized by family violence, simply witnessing violence can have emotionally destructive consequences. Children of alcoholics are 6 times more likely to witness spousal abuse than are other children. That's crazy, but true. As a result of these stresses, children of alcoholics and children of substance abusers often have difficulty in school. They may be unable to focus on their schoolwork due to the conflicts and tensions at home. They are also more likely than their peers to have learning disabilities, be truant, repeat more grades, transfer schools, and be expelled. When I say my little brother was expelled, he went through a lot before he was murdered. A lot. This is so true because this is what happened to me and my siblings. My little brother went through a lot. Some other effects. A parent's substance abuse can have other effects on children besides parent-child interactions. For example, if a parent loses a job because of drinking or drug use, the child suffers the economic consequences, especially if this is the household's only income. Without employment, a family might lose their home, car, or other valuable possessions, which can get their children taken away because they can't meet the basic needs of having a child in your home, which is food, clothing, and shelter. A child's health might also be compromised by a parent's drinking or drug problems. The child might develop stress-related health problems like gastritis, disorders, headaches, migraines, or asthma, causing them to miss school, and a child whose parents' substance abuse causes neglect might become injured because of failure to adequately childproof the house or because of inadequate supervision or even lack of immunizations and other routine well care for the children. Addiction is real, and most of the time the children in the home suffer, and they suffer mostly because they love their parents. We were taught to love our parents. However, the fact remains that the majority of children of alcoholics or children of substance abuse parents do not end up in the horrible circumstances. Not all of us. Only 1 in 4 children of alcoholics will become alcoholics themselves. 3 in 4 will not. Most children and teens are able to withdraw upon their inner strengths to cope with their circumstances and succeed in life. That was me. I succeeded and did very well for myself. Children of alcoholics and children of substance abuse can be helped in many ways, both formal and informal, to call on their resiliency. As I've stated earlier, and I just want to reiterate into sections. So medical and psychiatric consequences on a child whose parents abuse drugs and or alcohol can have medical problems, which we stated. Healthcare utilizations. Studies of children of alcoholics in childhood have documented increased rates of several physical illnesses, generally believed to be stress-related, including enteritis, colitis, and asthma. My little brother was the one that was murdered, actually had severe asthma. He had to sleep in his car seat so that he could breathe and the airways can be open. Birth defects. Significant alcohol intake by the mother during pregnancy has been linked to a variety of birth defects, the most serious of which is the fetal alcohol syndrome. Fetal alcohol consists of combination of facial dysmorphia, severe and persistent growth deficiency, central nervous system dysfunction with mental retardation and other defects. Lesser degrees of alcohol-related birth defects are referred to as fetal alcohol effects. Both fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal alcohol effects are persistent, lifelong organic dysfunction requiring specific rehabilitation. I remember when I was working in residential, I actually met a girl, one of the residents who had fetal alcohol syndrome, and all of these characteristics she had. She even hit me, and I was in shock, like, don't hit me. So alcohol is serious, especially with a woman who is using alcohol while pregnant. She is hurting the child before the child even comes into the world. Alcoholism and other drug dependencies. The familiar nature of alcoholism has been documented in many studies over the years, with both genetic and environmental factors implicated in the transmission process. Children of alcoholics are at approximately 3 to 4 times greater risk for developing alcoholism compared to children of non-alcoholic parents. In addition, children of alcoholics are at increased risk for other drug dependencies, which in conjunction with alcoholism accounts for much of the increased incidence of hospitalization for poisoning and accidental trauma in children of alcohol. Psychiatric disorders of childhood, mental retardation, and other organic mental dysfunctions have been linked to maternal drinking during pregnancy. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, everybody say that kid got ADHD, has also been linked to parental alcoholism, as have other anxiety and childhood depressive disorders and conduct disorders in childhood. Eating disorders. Recent studies have shown that a disproportionate number of patients suffering from bulimia nervosa are children of alcoholics, anxiety and depressive disorders, as in childhood anxiety and depressive disorders have been reported to be more common in adolescents and adults of children of alcoholics than in the general population, particularly amongst females. Also, pathological gambling. Adult alcoholics and addicts who had alcoholic fathers show an increased risk of pathological gambling. Sociopathy. The relationship between antisocial personality disorder, ASP, and parental alcoholism is well established as the strong association between antisocial personality disorder and adult alcoholism. Other drug dependencies. Educational consequences. Children from substance abusing families are more likely to have learning disabilities, repeat more grades, attend more schools, and are more likely to be truant, delinquent, and drop out of school because of the pregnancy explosion of institutionalization. Children whose parents drink too much or use other drugs may be preoccupied or tired because of home events and unable to concentrate in school or other activities, work below their potential because their energy is focused on the substance abuser. They may be reluctant to bring friends home due to the embarrassment about the addicted parent's behavior, witness physical or emotional abuse between family members, or experience it between themselves, and be unable to focus on homework because of the fighting, the tension, or the worry at home. Take on developmentally inappropriate responsibility for household siblings and their parents. We, the children, become the parents when our parents are intoxicated or under the influence of illegal drugs, because at that point they can't even help themselves. Mistrust of parents. Parents with an alcohol or drug problem often exhibit unpredictable behaviors. For the child, the rules may be constantly changing according to the amount of alcohol or drugs in the parent's blood. This lack of consistency can lead to a mistrust of parents and other adults. Wide mood swings with the family also contribute to additional lack of trust. When the parent gives up drinking alcohol or using drugs, there is often a feeling of hope that the problem has been solved. However, if the parent relapses, the disappointment is intense because we're saying, we thought you were going to do better. These experiences often lead children to a distrust of authority figures or adults in general, with an expectation that they will eventually be let down. I sometimes have mistrust with adults. I'll be like, I see when you do it. I never have my hopes up because I know I can get let down. My dad has let me down plenty of times in my lifetime. Guilt. Instead of understanding the parent's substance abuse as a disease, which it very much is, the child sees the drinking or drug use as a reaction to bad behavior. Family members may blame each other for setting off a drinking episode or angry outburst. Examples of this kind of thought are, if I were a better student, my mother wouldn't drink. Or if I didn't make my dad angry, he would stop using drugs. My advice to children is, please don't blame yourself. Don't think that because of your behavior is why your parents use drugs. It has nothing to do with you. They love you. They're just not in their right state of mind. Children of alcoholics or children of substance abuse parents is often deeply ashamed of the family secret. She may avoid friendships with other children and feels she cannot invite them to her house because her parents might be at home drunk or high and embarrass her. Sometimes there is a hierarchy among children of substance abuse, which places children of alcoholics above children of drug users, who are above children of IV drug users, who are above children of IV drug users with HIV and AIDS. No one is higher than no one. No one is above anyone. We're all in this fight different. Our fight may look different, but most of us are ashamed. And, you don't want to see your parents. You don't want your friends and your family members to see your parents in that state of abuse because they're not acting themselves. Confusion. A lot of that. Substance abuse in the family creates confusion in the child when the family fails to validate either his external or internal reality. For example, a child may observe his mother drinking, becoming intoxicated, and passing out on the kitchen floor, but be told by his father that she is okay or tired. Just the lies. A parent may suffer from alcoholic blackout, lapse of memory for events that take place while the individual is intoxicated. Did I do that? Oh my God. They weren't in the right state of mind. And make promises or reveal inappropriate personal information while drinking. So true. My father used to drink and sing, tell all the business. For us, before we knew my father used and sold drugs, when he would go to jail, my mother would say, "Your father is in school." Later, that same parent, my mother, is genuinely unaware of what transpired and denied, and she wasn't under the influence, denied the conversation ever took place. When you confront them, like, "You said, Mommy, that Daddy was in school." And my mother would act as if she never said that once we realized he was going to jail, because we saw him get handcuffed and going off to jail. Ambivalence. Strong positive and negative feelings towards the parent may coexist in the child. For example, a girl may long for approval and love for substance abusing and simultaneously feel angry and resentful. I know I'm very angry and resentful because of what I've seen. Fear. Some children of substance abusers fear that their anger towards the parent could cause him to die, or more realistically, that the parent could die as the result of drinking and driving, other drug-related traumas or illnesses. So you don't want to get them too mad where they go out and use drugs, because you fear something could happen to them. And you don't want that on your conscience. Insecurity, low self-esteem, tension, anxiety, depressed feelings, and acting out behavior are often reflections of insecurity due to a difficult home environment. I think I have a lot of insecurity issues. Conflicts about sexuality. Disruption of normal sexual development can occur if substance abuse interferes with the parent's ability to nurture and educate the child. For example, the child may be exposed inappropriately to sexual behavior, including, in some cases, sexual abuse. Most definitely, there have been some children who were sexually abused. It didn't happen in our home. Our father didn't like predators. He didn't play with us. He used to close the windows. It used to be crazy, but some other children were most definitely abused during their parents being under the influence of drugs. No matter what adjectives you use to describe drug addiction, it affects on family, friends, and others are often devastating and heartbreaking to witness. The physical, psychological, and spiritual dimensions of addictions give the addict a sort of tunnel vision, and they will spare and no expense in keeping their substance abuse going, even if it means putting those they love the most on the back burner. The tremendous impacts of substance abuse is especially profound in children of parents who are in the grips of drugs and alcohol addiction. For these children, for us, they can experience minor neglect up to full-blown physical, mental, and even sexual abuse. Children obviously look to their parents as role models. For parents who are struggling with substance abuse, it can cause immense trauma, and a child's emotional and psychological development can be impacted to a degree that can be beyond repair. I shared with you guys my own experience with a parent who abuses substances, who used to, because he's no longer with us. But also, I wanted to educate you, and I shared all the research I learned about children of parents who suffer with addiction and alcoholism, because I didn't share this part, but my father was also an alcoholic. He would stop one drug to go to another drug. It was like from one extreme to another extreme. He really, really suffered with his demons. I am so blessed that he taught me a lot, and I learned a lot of life lessons, and I can't put a price tag on it. To my parents in heaven, I love you guys and miss you guys so much. You guys are in a better place. Mommy, Daddy had to come and be with you. He wanted to be with you. He fought the good fight. He most definitely struggled with substances, but his heart was with you. If you know a child whose parents are using alcohol or drugs or both, talk to that child. That child has witnessed a lot and don't want to be removed. As an advocate and a person who's bringing awareness, I want you to know that you are not alone. And I am here to hold that safe space. I come with life experiences, and I will never judge you because I wouldn't want anyone to judge me. While I hope you love listening to and learning from this podcast, it is not meant to be a substitute for mental health treatment or substance abuse treatment. For those of you who are ready to get started by talking to a self-care life coach and a child from a parent who used substance abuse, please don't hesitate to contact me at jsselfcare.org. Make sure that you schedule your free consultation. I am only here to hold safe space for you, the listener, or if you need to refer someone. If mental health treatment is needed or substance abuse treatment is needed, please don't hesitate to contact a therapist in your area. Self-care is important and necessary. Take care of you and continue to put you first no matter what. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with a friend. For daily doses of self-care, words of affirmations, and notes to self, make sure you join the JS Self-Care social media tribe on most social media platforms. Social media links will be placed in this episode's show notes.